You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable.
And welcome everybody to another edition of Getting Color with your host with the most, Big Vito LaGrasso from the Big Vito brand, coming to you live, baby, live. I know everybody is excited for this week's edition of Getting Color. We have an action-packed card waiting just for you. We have a lot of updates. We have a lot of things going on. One of us has man hair and one of us don't. I would like to say hello to David Virtue Stallworth. How are you, David? And the camera's on you.
Vito, what's up? So finally, I lost my bet at WrestleMania. I said they were going to book Daniel Bryan to keep the WWE title, and Kofi won it. And therefore, the beard that I had growing since July is gone. So this is the first time anybody, even No DQ, Galaxy, anybody has seen me without the beard for 8 months. There you go, right here.
Where are you debuting it?
Right here.
Big Vito brand.
That's right. At what? What's your Twitter? At the Big Vito brand, which is BigVitoBrand.com, and this is Getting Color.
I mean, you did make a comment, a couple of weeks back about my beard and stuff, but my shit is looking tight right now. I mean, real tight, looking good.
I might have to do that now that it's gone and it's going to start growing back because I got to cover up my birthmark there. I might go the real short route like you and keep it nice and groomed. I'm going to be going to my barber and getting a haircut.
I go every week to get it trimmed. I get it every week. I go get it maintained. You know what I mean? And it looks good, feels good. Chicks are digging it. Wife is digging it. Everybody's looking at it and saying, hey.
I'm going to have to start tanning when you come up and do this show in November with me up here. I'm going to have to tan to look the part with you. I'm going to have no choice.
I got out of the gym and hot tub, so, I mean, I'm doing okay. Plus a hot shower, pulling some cooling stuff, and so a whole bunch of lovely on me to keep myself, fresh, exciting and new. You know how I roll, man. You know how I roll.
Yep, and that's why you brought me here on Getting Color. We're the odd couple, but I'm the one that brings that hot news to you from the wrestling world. But we always like to talk sports, Vito. Is there anything that happened today in the world of sports that we should talk about?
Well, let me tell you something. Congratulations to Tiger Woods from the days of when he was the top dog and when he was a woman player and telling everybody at the clubs, you can call him a Woodsy. And then all of a sudden his world caved in, got beat up by white chicks, crashing his car, had some other stuff going on. But you know what? Congratulations for him to turn his life around, and he won his 5th Masters, and he's one behind Jack Nicholson to get his 6th green jacket. I think that is awesome. Congratulations, Tiger Woods.
So over the years, when he, was battling injuries, the personal issues with his relationship, the pain pill addiction, do you believe that all of that combined regressed his game to where he couldn't even be close to competing? And what do you think as a performer made him just like that the last year and a half get right back to like he never missed a beat? That's fascinating. It's one of the best stories, compelling stories in sports history.
Yeah, but don't you understand it? I'm going to explain it to you guys. When you're up and coming and you're hungry, and there's nothing more you want to be than champion, and there's nothing that gets in your way, you are the greatest in the world. As soon as you taste fine wine, that's when things get crazy. You get movie deals, you get commercials, but what's the one thing you forget to do? Train. Happened to Mike Tyson, happened to the best of them. Mike Tyson was the best of the best. If he would have stayed on his course and Bill Caton was still alive and would have kept up, he could have been 55-0 and still boxing. I believe this truly to my heart. He could have been boxing until he's at least 50 years old and being competitive and winning.
I agree with that. You remember when Buster Douglas beat him? Buster lost the title his next fight, and he was out of shape. Is that your typical getting the title and just not caring after that?
Out of shape. Mike Tyson didn't want to train for that fight. Mike Tyson even said, I didn't train for that fight. And he hung in there with somebody who trained for the match of their lifetime. And he knocked Buster Douglas down when you do the count, it was 13 seconds. You don't think the people want to get rid of Mike Tyson? Of course they did. Just like in the Garden, George Foreman, Tyrell Briggs, and George Foreman lost that time. George Foreman needed to be knocked out. He didn't get knocked out. He lost that title because they did not want George Foreman to be heavyweight champion anymore. True story.
I think a lot of that has to do with it. And when somebody's so dominant, officiating can come into play and screw things over. I agree. I think that's true.
What happened to Roy Jones in the Olympics? And he beat that Korean guy, and he won that gold medal hands down. There was no way. And because there was 3 Korean judges, the Korean got the victory, and the Korean knew he lost. He shouldn't have got that. It was
speaking of big sporting events, I toured the Garden, Madison Square Garden, for the first time ever. And right. I got to see their New York Rangers locker room, the Knicks locker room. And it just, I didn't even know in that arena, the actual floor to the hockey and the basketball arena is 5 stories above street level. That's just, and you perform, did you perform in the Garden?
I am probably the only legendary wrestler who has played basketball on the Garden floor but never wrestled in Madison Square Garden.
But you played the legit basketball, dude. And that's the mecca of basketball. I mean, they still hold big NCAA games there.
That was my heart and soul. And I actually had Michael Jordan's locker in Chicago. I sat in Magic Johnson's locker in Los Angeles. I never got to play at Madison Square. I never got to wrestle at Madison Square Garden.
But you stepped on the basketball court.
Hershey Park, all the other arenas around the metropolitan area I've done except the Garden.
Sweet.
So,
dude, we got a lot to cover about wrestling. I mean, anything in particular you
out there, Twitches, I hope you're subscribing. I hope everybody's going to enjoy this. You know, tits for bits, guys, tits for bits. And I got to tell you,
it's bits for tits.
No, it's tits for bits, all right? Stop running on my parade, woman.
Oh, God. It's going to be one of those days.
Ah, boy, I'm telling you, Vito, you're one sexy son of a bitch. I tell you, ratings are going up. Up.
You have problems.
I'm just happy. What do you want me to do? I'm happy.
You're happy?
All right. So we are going to get underway. And today I would like to start off by congratulating Enzo and Kaz for getting back together again. I think that's the greatest thing for wrestling. I hope those guys, skyrocket and do great things. Virtual, what do you think about them reuniting?
I was waiting for it. Just the way everything happened. I mean, they were a hot act in WWE, and it's crazy that they split them up. And, whether the reason was to get Enzo onto 205 Live as a singles competitor, as a champion, to boost that, the ratings up for that, which is why they did it. I don't know why you would stall a hot act in Enzo and Cass. They were actually tops at one point at merch selling. And that's the big part of the game, right? Sports entertainment. Yeah, we know they could work a little bit better. Cass isn't too bad. But I'm telling you, man, these guys were legit performers. And I heard when they did this thing at the Garden, which ironically was an hour after Bret Hart got attacked. So I wonder if they were supposed to debut a different way, like just the promo on the ramp or something. And then when that thing happened with Bret at Barclays, they said, go out into the crowd and jump the rail. I mean, we don't know. That's just my speculation. That New York City, Madison Square Garden, Ring of Honor crowd who loves wrestling, they got hot. I heard F you Enzo about 12 times. And look, if you're in the Garden and you're a performer and you have that crowd chanting F you, you're over, right? Am I wrong with that? I think it's money.
No, you're right. Whoever orchestrated that, congratulate. That was a great mind stump. You're using psychology one-on-one, whoever did that. Congratulations to them. Now, let's see. This past week was the anniversary of the Mamalukes winning the WCW Tag Team Champions of the World. Did it. Big Vito.
Yes, we got to go back on the network and watch that.
Yeah, why don't we go on the network and watch it? It's $9.99. Get all you want for free, all the big Vito Scovon Crush, Vito stuff. Don't worry about it. I'm not getting any royalties from it. It's going directly to the WWE network. It's all good for now, but it's all right.
Hey, Vito, I have a question for you. So, what title was it that you won at WCW and you wore it around with you? Was that the Hardcore Championship?
Hardcore title.
Okay.
When
I know you did that. You were promoting your brand. You've talked about why you did that. I'm flipping through Twitter, and I come up to Johnny Gargano's Twitter feed, and he's just won the NXT Championship at Takeover last week. He and his wife, who's a worker, Candice LeRae, they're in Disney World, standing in front of the castle, and he's carrying around his NXT title belt. Yay or nay from your point of view? Like, to me, it just looks so markish, but maybe he's promoting. I mean, his brand is to the mark. I mean, it's the diehard wrestling fans. What's your take on Gargano doing that?
Okay. When you won the title, when I was wrestling back then, it was taboo to take it out and showcase it. They labeled you a mark and they let you know about it, and you got shit for it. When you had your title, you took it, you did your promo, you put it under your seat, you went out, you did your thing, you took it and put it under your seat. You didn't wear it around the dressing room. Imagine wearing your title around Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man, Bret Hart, Goldberg, Sting, and walking around, hey, brother, what's going on? Like, they would crucify you. The Steiners, Booker and Stevie Ray. You know, just the names of the guys who were champions back then. Ric Flair. I mean, you just didn't do it. Today's a different brand, different type of wrestling. You know, for them to take their belts out, maybe it wouldn't be markish. As far as them having a brand, no, they are in the WWE. They don't have their own brand because they're contracted workers for the WWE. So anything they do is WWE related. You know, you want to take pictures at the castle? Okay, keep it for your portfolio. You know, be professional. You want to be taken seriously as a champion? You're not taking it and displaying it. You don't see Tom Brady carrying the Super Bowl trophy around everywhere he goes to dinner or when he goes out to rent a car or anything like that, do you? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I figured you would say that, and it's just, I mean, I don't know. But you know, when I was in New York for WrestleMania weekend, Vito, literally 1 out of every 8 fans had a replica title around their shoulder.
Yeah, but those are not workers.
I know, but I'm just saying that's like maybe he's selling NXT belts for the WWE, and they're like, "Hey, take your title out."
Guys, it's a different era. You can't go by when I wrestled because it's a different time, different. You know, social media wasn't as big. The branding of yourself wasn't as big. Back then, all you had to do was take care of yourself, make your money, get your contract, and do your thing. It wasn't as big as it was. It wasn't a big entity as it is today. Okay? So getting on with getting color. I hope all the people on Twitch, hope everybody's doing good. How are we doing on Twitch, Miss Noel?
Keep going, brother.
You shit your face.
Twitch always picks up like when we get towards the end of recording. I don't know why.
I don't know what that is.
All right, but all right, getting on with our star-studded show. I want to talk about Bayley and Sasha. There have been rumors about them crying after WrestleMania and about them not being happy with their spots. Now, I got to tell you guys, you wrestle at WrestleMania, you're walking in as tag team champions. There is no disgrace, and there's no official word that you have to win at WrestleMania. Go see Kurt Angle. So how could you possibly be mad about losing at WrestleMania, quitting, throwing a tantrum? See, these things did not go on back in the day because if you did these things back in the day, you had your ass handed to you by the heavy, by the shooter, by the cooler, whoever that was back in the day. Johnny Rodz was the man to go see back in the 70s, along with the Iron Sheik. But Johnny was the man who was the go-to guy to see if you need to be stretched. I can't say there were a lot of guys in the 80s, a lot of guys in the 90s. But guys, when you needed a lesson, there was a guy they sent out there. Okay, go stretch him. You got 20 minutes. Do your thing. and they knew you could carry your weight and make him realize every mistake. And if he didn't get it the first night, guess who we got the second night? The same guy who kicked his ass for 20 minutes the first night.
Well, here's the kicker with Bailey and Sasha. They were both given singles runs as champions, a couple years ago. Right. And they couldn't move the needles. I mean, nobody really moves the needles anymore. But, I mean, they were awful at promos. They're good workers. I mean, well, I guess that can be suspect. But they're pretty good for females today in the ring. Right. But they can't cut promos. And to me, what's their characters? What interest, intrigue do they have? And I think when they were put at that top level, they failed. They got pushed back down. You started seeing Alexa Bliss, who no one expected to be at the top. Obviously, Charlotte Flair, Becky, even Nia Jax for a short period of time. I think they're jealous because they must think that they're good in-ring workers, so we should have our spot. But in reality, they weren't sports entertaining very well, Vito. And I think that's what management didn't see. Like they say, the brass ring wasn't grabbed, and now they're playing jelly belly. I mean, serious. I cannot believe – I was hoping this was all a work when I heard these rumors about Sasha going away, canceling a TV appearance on a talk show. I mean, you know what I mean? This is nuts.
But you know what? In today's society, with the way things are today, contracts and social media and everything, and the way wrestling is today, it's a totally different beast. You didn't act like this back then. You didn't go on vacation. You didn't say, I'm leaving. What they did was fire you, and they'd say, okay, go ahead.
Well, yeah, because didn't Sid, when he was Sid Justice in 92, I believe he refused to work a match with the Warrior. I don't know if it was a house show, because the agents were telling Sid powerbomb Warrior, and Warrior kicked out, and that was Sid's finish. Sid said, well, he did it one night, and Sid said this on a podcast before. Then the next night, I think it might have been in Boston, Sid refused to do it, and that was it. He was out of WWE again until he eventually came back later, Psycho Sid. See, Vito? He refused to do business, and he was gone.
You have a question.
Big
Fresh Matt, who is actually hosting us on his channel right now, thank you very much, wants to know, what match do you think was best on the card? I think he means Mania.
What match was best at Mania? I was not a fan. I was disappointed in the Brock Lesnar match because it was quick and it was first. The Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston match, I definitely was not a fan of. The Shane O'Mac and Miz rated well. The girls' three-way was up there. I think that the botch finish caught everybody up surprise. The girls, the tag girls were all right. The Battle Royal, but I think just the two matches that I thought had credibility were the girls and the Miz and Shane O'Mac.
Did you like Batista and Triple H?
I was not a fan of that match. I know, and listen, I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't think it was the best match on the card. I didn't even think it was the third match on the card. That match just did not grab me. I think it just didn't do it for me. I wasn't a fan of it. And
I was there live, and I'm going to say my favorite. I have not rewatched it on the network. I mean, why? I can't go through that again. I was there live. Being there live, my favorite match was Bryan and Kofi. But again, I created my own investment in it, Vito. That's why I said, if Kofi wins a title, I'm shaving my beard with all my readers and followers. So,
got bits for tits. Bits for tits, thank you. Bits. Thank you very much.
Eric, and thank you, Stats Bits.
All right, go ahead. Continue, Virgil.
So I picked Bryan and Kofi because here's what I noticed. I'd have to, I was sitting in the upper bowl, but the front row of the upper bowl. I got a good view of the ring, but I'd have to look up at the Tron every now and again. I noticed Kofi looked nervous because he knew he was going to go over. I saw a couple botches out of Kofi, but why did I still think this was the best match? I watched Daniel Bryan carry Kofi through that match, and the crowd popped, and they still delivered for that fan base. Now, I know you look at it with completely different set of eyes, and I understand that, but if I had to pick a match at Mania, being there live, that was the best one. Yell at me, I don't care, but it was Brian and Kofi.
Listen, you're entitled to your opinion, and opinions matter. And when you have a different philosophy on different matches, it's always good to listen to what other people think and how they feel. If you don't ever do that, then you never learn anything in the wrestling business. I'm not always 100% right. I'm not always 100% wrong. I'm giving you the benefit of my experience. And just for me personally, for you personally being there, you thought that was a great match, then for that night, that was a great match for you. Whether, you know, who won or lost. Was Kofi nervous? Yes. Kofi's been put in that position, I can't tell you how many times, and he did not deliver. Okay? First thing that happened when he won the belt, superstar Billy Graham goes, "You're not believable. Go on some steroids, put on 50 pounds." Because he isn't believable. Nobody can believe it. Kofi's lucky if he's cracking 200.
Yep. Well, you know, you just see the fact, if you go back and look at his work with the New Day, three-man group, he was always like the third wheel. I mean, you'd see Big E cut promos, Xavier Woods. Xavier had the trombone, Big E did all the dancing. Kofi was just kind of like the third wheel. And then all of a sudden, they choose him. And, of course, the fans ate it up. The wrestling marks ate it up.
Stand that they don't have any talent groomed to come up and be main eventers. And the guys who've been there 15, 10 years, 12 years are the guys they have to lean on now because they don't have anybody who can carry it. Just like Lars Sullivan debuted, came on, and he went against the Hardys. That kid was as good as he looks coming out. He was not ready for prime time, and he didn't have to lay out the Hardys. I thought that was horrible, and his press slams looked weak. They were not impressive. They weren't aggressive, and they were very, very light.
He did it against Kurt Angle on Raw, too.
But it just didn't do nothing for me. He came out, and I was like, all right, you wouldn't be able to last with Big Vito LaGrasso in his day, because I would have gave it right back to you, and it would have been
the fact that the dirt sheets let everything out there these days, and we knew he had a panic anxiety attack and went home when he was supposed to debut originally against, the rumors had it at the time, Cena, and he went home, this big guy that was afraid to do something. Now, to me, with that out there, it does take credibility. Back in the day, you wouldn't have heard that. You wouldn't have had that dirt out there on him.
I'm going to give you one better, okay?
Okay.
He falls into the Braun Strowman cliche. Looks good, feels good, smells good, but when he gets out there, it's not that good. And imagine putting that guy with Brock Lesnar. That guy would fold like an accordion. It would be a waste of time. And you notice Braun Strowman, we have Braun Strowman is definitely one of the wasted talents in WWE. It's very sad to see that a guy like that, with all that potential and all that going for him, they use him like that. He should have been the next Goldberg. Quick matches, in and out. Got a question.
Stats wants to know, Vito, has the WWE ever asked you to come back for a one-off like Batista, or are you like a persona non grata?
Not yet. Not yet.
They asked you to the training center, though.
Guys, I know a lot of people ask me, and a lot of people want me to come back to wrestling. You know, I can only say when it's the right time, the right place, the right thing, circumstances, yes.
I got the right time, the right place. Enzo, CazzXL, and Big Vito.
I think that would be tremendous.
Yes.
Out with them as a manager and the third wheel, that would be awesome.
Free Agent Z. Oh man, that'd be one of the hottest groups today. You'd be that. I can see Bullet Club T-shirt sales right now.
Yep, we have another question in there.
Braun showing up on SmackDown, squaring up with Joe was actually good because it felt new. Because they've never wrestled.
That was the tease to the Superstar Shakeup that's going to happen tomorrow night and Tuesday. They did a tease on, oh, this could happen. So he showed up on SmackDown and attacked Joe.
Yeah. The other stuff that happened this week, Kurt Angle was just recently on WrestleZone saying he wishes he would have won his last match. All right, maybe, maybe he wanted to, but, you go out on your back. You come in on your back, you go out on your back. That's always been my philosophy. Was it nice to win? Yes. Was it important that he win? No. Could it have been against a better opponent? Yes. You were there, Virtue. What was your views on that match live?
You know, people obviously didn't like Corbin being there, but it's like I hear this term all the time, go away heat, bad heat. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in X-Pac heat. If people are making noise, and Corbin's, obviously people were booing Corbin because they didn't think he deserved to be Kurt Angle's last opponent. Kurt put him over. Who knows, that might have been Kurt's idea. We don't know. I doubt Kurt changing his mind on him wanting to go over. I think he's just working WrestleZone. That's my opinion. But when I was there, Corbin got good heat. People, that to me is what a heel's supposed to be, the guy nobody wants to see win. And to me, go away heat, bad heat, X-Pac heat is silence, right? That you're doing bad if nobody's making noise. But if they're making noise, you're doing your job. Am I wrong with that?
No, I mean, you're not wrong. It's just that certain matches deserve certain endings, and certain circumstances deserve certain goodbyes. Not everybody's going to be happy with it. So, I mean, we just got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Enough with that. Let's go to AEW news.
Oh, yeah.
Rumor has it they have a TBS deal. Virtue, what do you got on that?
So, rumor, we'll see what happens, that in the fall, close to SmackDown debuting on Fox time frame, that AEW is going to be on Turner Networks, TNT, TBS. And now I'm starting to have deja vu because we all know what happened with WCW and how they actually got to be some big-time competition for Vince McMahon because of those networks. So it is very interesting. I think the biggest news for AEW, we knew they needed a TV deal, right? But there's billionaires backing them. So you figured there was some connections. Somebody knew somebody, and here we go. And the billionaires do football, and then they do soccer or whatever it is over in England. So they know people. Jim Ross now being part of AEW, I think is a big deal because he has a lot of knowledge in the business, not just talking commentating. This guy knows what wrestler, and again, he's older now, but I don't think you lose that unless you have Alzheimer's or dementia. But I think Jim Ross knows how to operate talent. He's great at that, and I think they need somebody because you got all these wrestlers, Vito, in AEW with power. You need a guy like Jim Ross to make sure everybody's set straight and what talent deserves to be where. I hope he does well, and I hope he has that opportunity to prove that Vince McMahon screwed up by not keeping him there. And I know it was mutual, but that's what I –
It's good. If AEW does score this, it's a long time. They're working their way. They're making their way. Hey, good for them. Another bit of news, you talk about guys being in charge. Let's talk about Road Dogg stepping down or being asked to step down as head writer of SmackDown.
So, listening to Russo, I'm going to agree with him. He said, look at the kitchen, look at the cooks in the kitchen underneath Vince. Bruce Pritchard, Jeff Jarrett. You always have Paul Heyman. PSAs, right? Doc Hendricks. It's not. I think that everyone's jockeying for position, and it affected Road Dogg because out of all those guys, Road Dogg was more of the worker. All the other guys have always been one of Vince McMahon's yes men. I have a feeling that there's politicking going on in creative, and it ultimately led to Jesse James saying, "I'm not going to do this anymore." Who knows whether it was him or he was forced to do it. As far as I know, he's still working for the company, though, Vito. I don't know if he's going to be doing agenting or what, but he's no longer on SmackDown Creative.
Now, there was another writer who got let go. Who is that writer?
I don't know his name, but all I know is he supposedly at the Hall of Fame was in charge of Brett and Natty's speech, and somehow Vince McMahon's name got brought up in that speech, and he got all the blame and supposedly got fired over it. And later in the night, Triple H and the DX, they even did a shot of talking about Vince as almost a rib to that guy. So it's just crazy, Vito, that writers are getting fired because they're not telling the workers to don't say Vince McMahon's name. Like, isn't that weird? Like, remember back in the day, if you mentioned Vince's name, it was like a hot topic. Now, mention Vince's name.
Imagine.
I think Brett did it.
the Titus O'Neil thing. You talk about temperamental. Let me touch your arm. Let me suspend you for 3 months and 5,000.
I know. I mean, it's Vince and his power trip. I mean, he's a businessman, and it's his way or the highway. And he's probably in gorilla position at the Hall of Fame, and he heard Brett say Vince McMahon. Oh, I didn't tell Brett to say Vince McMahon. Who's responsible for this?
Turner wants wrestling. Oh, this is Stats question. I apologize. Turner wants wrestling now, but they didn't want WCW with Vince Russo writing and more stars. It makes no sense.
Nothing makes sense in wrestling business, my friend. Bits for tits. Just throw a couple of things.
Turner really didn't have a choice back then because it was a Time Warner AOL merger, and that part of it didn't want wrestling. And that Turner just at that point said, okay. I think a lot of time has passed since then.
Too many in the kitchen. That's what happened.
Back then? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. To make it short and sweet, that was the point I was getting at. Yeah.
All right. Now we have, I think we covered just about everything except baseball. It's my favorite. Mets are doing great. Yankees are sucking. How's Cleveland doing?
They're doing okay. I mean, they're not. Their pitching's been getting banged up. Their hitting's not hitting. But to be honest with you, they're in one of the worst divisions in baseball. I didn't check the standings, but I know they have more wins than losses right now, and it's April, and they don't have Lindor playing. So,
who won the game with OKC and the Trailblazers?
Trailblazers did.
The Trailblazers did win.
Yes.
And you know who had a great game?
Enes Kanter.
Hell yes, double.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know he was in the third quarter. He was at 16-15.
Yep.
And he was hurting them boys.
He's a bruiser, dude. And you brought up another topic. Yeah, he's a bruiser, and he's always played that way. But he brings supposedly brings a lot of drama, but to teams and locker rooms.
He's an automatic double every time he goes out.
Yep.
So you can't fault him.
LeBron James isn't in the playoffs, so
the Jets with their draft picks and what they're going to do. They're talking about Boza, new uniforms, trading down. What are your thoughts on that?
They're definitely – I think they're going to improve their team with the draft. Boza sounds probably like a logical choice. Now, with that said, I mean, they got Le'Veon Bell, right? They're going to have Darnold on his second year. You saw what the Giants did by trading Beckham. The best football team in New York right now, it's not the Giants. Probably going to be the Jets.
I would like to see the Jets trade down, maybe possibly getting an extra few picks and still getting their guy, because I think if they stay in the top 6, they'll get a guy who can help them and get extra picks to fill in some holes.
And that's what you do in the draft. Remember, football is you can have some stars, but you got to make every position count. So I'm all for when teams trade a higher pick to get more picks, as long as they think they can still get their guys, I'm all for that. I actually think that's a good idea. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Now to the main event and what we've been waiting to talk about. Earlier this week on Facebook, I posted a documentary along with Noel about Bruiser Brody, a very intriguing, a very detailed, very true-to-life documentary about the passing of Bruiser Brody. What happened?
So, Vito, that documentary you sent, that was well done. I mean, I didn't even know Mick Foley was going to narrate it, and we were going to get so much out of Dutch Mantel. Let me ask you this. Why in the hell is that on YouTube? Why isn't that on the WWE Network or something bigger? That was well done.
It's on Iceland TV, so it's on a TV network.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just shared it.
The WWE probably doesn't want nothing to do with the Bruiser Brody thing. Doesn't want nothing to do because the name Cologne,
yeah,
and the 2 Cologne boys are still working for them. WWE doesn't want nothing to do with deaths, killings, massacres, anything like that, because they have their own issues. So I mean, why bring drama on your table if you don't need it? Keep it out of your kitchen. With that said, passing of Bruiser Brody being killed in the shower, and having Tony Atlas, who was there, Dutch Mantel, Abdul the Butcher, Savio Vega was there. The Young Bloods were there. A few others were there. A lot of them were told, do not come back to the island. A lot of them were given their money and told to leave. It was definitely a rough place to be. A lot of the Puerto Rican wrestlers couldn't do anything because they couldn't go against their own kind. I know I was told a few different versions of it because I spent a great deal of time there.
So let me take time out real quick. So me watching this, we know he was in the shower. Bruiser Brody was in the shower with the Invader.
Right.
And we've heard there was a stabbing, but we hear the self-defense, like there was a struggle. What do you think is more likely? Do you think it was just a legit murder because Brody was moving up on being a man in charge more and more down there? That's what I get out of it.
The Invader.
I think it was more of a struggle.
The Invader, Jose Gonzalez, is an egomaniac. And he had to be top dog. He wasn't going to be better than Carlos Colon. He was going to be the second dog in charge. Bruiser Brody came up. Bruiser Brody was going to be the biggest star in Puerto Rico, probably bigger than Carlos Colon. Just as big as Abdul the Butcher. Okay, and Jose Gonzalez was an egomaniac. Still is an egomaniac. 70-something olds, he's still trying to wrestle. And back then, when you used to get 35,000, 20,000, 25,000 in baseball parks to watch wrestling because of the fans, that's why you went. I mean, what more could you ask for back then? These guys made you believe. Bruiser Brody was physical. Abdul the Butcher was physical. Carlos Colon made you believe. The ultimate babyface Invader, you know, he was 5'10", 11, wore a mask. What charisma did he have? He had the hard punch. Okay. But egomaniac. To say that he invited him in the shower to talk about stuff, I heard some things where it was over a drug bust, over drugs. I heard it was over money. I heard it was over booking. Guys, all I can tell you is Bruiser Brody was a man who went to work, loved the game, was believable. Was there a chance he could have been buying part of the WWC? Absolutely, probably. Was there a chance that if he bought the WWC that he was going to fire some people? Absolutely. Were there more than one person in the shower?
Yeah, I mean, it's and think about where it took place. Not like it took place here in the States. And think about all, you know, from what we knew, how long it took the ambulance to get there. And it's just
talking about that. You're talking about Bruiser Brody, 6'6", maniac, tough man.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me he couldn't fight off one guy?
And that's a great point, Vito. I mean, that's it. This is going to be one of those conspiracies that we'll never truly know. I mean, that documentary can shed some light on it, but
the fact that all of a sudden nobody knew anything and everybody acted like nothing happened, and the way Tony Atlas explained it, where he went, came back in the arena, different clothes, putting on his boots like nobody was going to say anything.
Yeah.
You're a fucking piece of shit, Jose Gonzalez. A piece of shit. You know, it's sad that your little girl drowned in a pool 3 months earlier. I'm sorry about that. But for you to kill a human being over fucking wrestling, you're a fucking piece of shit. I hope you get nothing but sadness the rest of your life. Now I'm going to get to my story on Jose Gonzalez. 2007, IWA. I go there because my friend Savio Vega asked me to come in and help him with his promotion. So all these had a hand in it. I go over there. I talk to Savio. I said, we're going to do this the old way, right? He goes, yep, Vito. He says, no problems. We got Miguel. We got me. He says, we have Invader. I said, Invader's going to be a problem. I said, you know how he is. He said, Vito, yeah, my word, there's nothing's going to happen. Okay. They were pushing, Savio Vega was pushing, I believe, his cousin to be the next champion. I was the IWA Intercontinental Champion. ton of heat, biggest heel in the territory. And the kid had already beaten a guy by the name of John Bison, who passed away. And he was the next heel. So me and him were one and two, and I was like the next. I was probably the top heel, with him being there for so long. But here I came, and Invader was mentoring this guy, teaching this guy, showing this guy, helping this guy with promos, doing his promos. And you know, Vito, when I get to be with you, and and every promo was how he was going to do things. I went to Savio. Savio, is Invader planning on wrestling again? Because I don't think this is going to end good. No, Vito, everything is good. We're going to build this guy. A couple more promos go in. I said, Savio, I said, something's not right. I says, I'm not stupid. I said, I've been doing this a long time. I've been here a long time on the island. I said, sounds like Invader's gearing up to wrestle me. I says, and it's not about this kid. It's about him being on top again. So night comes. We draw 1,000 people. It's me against the kid. And I said, this is a great beginning for a program. I was the top heel. We just won the heavyweight title, right? So what better way to kick it off? You build a program. Kid gets beat by disqualification. I friggin' destroy him. You know, then build it to where he's got to really think about things. He digs in. We run a program. We drew 1,000 people off of one TV. We could have drew 10,000 if they would have gave it a chance. Invader comes up with his finish. Nope, we're going to beat you with his finish. That's it. 1, 2. I said, no, it ain't happening. I said, that's not the way we're going to do this.
Yeah, you were trying to do it long term. They wanted to do a hot shot at one and done. That's what it sounds like?
Because Invader had a different agenda. I called it, said it. It's true. So I go out there. I don't like this. They tell me, Vito, just, let the guy roll you up and let's get it over with, So the guy rolls me up. I come back. So I get back there, and Vader goes in front of the whole locker room. And this motherfucker, he didn't want to put over this champion. And he didn't want to do this. And he didn't want to do that. And everybody watched the match, and I carried this kid for 25 minutes. I didn't want to. I did my part. Everybody's saying, Vito, that was a great match. Kid even told me, he says, you were giving me the belly to belly off the top rope. He says, I couldn't even lift myself in there. You just took me off the top rope and we went. I said, bro, I took care of you. I said, it's my job. I said, you were tired, you were blown up, you couldn't do it no more. So I get back in the dressing room. He does that to me, comes at me, he pushes me. I go at him like a fucking animal. I said, I will kill you, you motherfucker. You don't ever put your hands on me. Everybody in the dressing room fucking shoved Invader out of the dressing room and said, what the fuck are you doing? He says, you putting your hands on another wrestler? In I go in the shower. It's me, Savio, and Miguel. Standing there and I'm waiting. I've said to myself, comes in here, you go out swinging and you swing for the fences. I positioned myself in the shower where I was in between them, and if the door opened and I saw him, first foot was going right towards his nose, and I was breaking out. I didn't give a shit if he had a knife, a gun, or anything. They finally got him out of there. Guys in the dressing room took my back. Guys pulled their guns out. Guys had their knives out. They were ready to stab this motherfucker because of what he did. I wasn't afraid of nobody, and I didn't give a shit about nobody, and I'd take care of Vito LaGrasso. And if you thought because you were resting on your laurels because you killed somebody, I've been against bigger, badder, and tougher than you, and better fucking motherfuckers who ever came my way to pull a gun on me or put a knife on me or try to fucking stab me. So when you talk about this Invader, there is one guy who stood up to him. It's Vito LaGrasso. I'm telling you about it today because it's a true story. And the guys who were in that dressing room, they know it. They still talk about it. They give me respect for it because I didn't bow down. I didn't kiss his ass like everybody else because they were afraid. He used to walk around with his tongue out, a towel around his neck. Go fuck yourself, Jose Gonzalez, because you're a piece of shit. I'm glad they had this documentary that exposed you.
Yep, that's a great story, Vito. I'm going to start calling you Bruiser Vito, man. Ooh, that nice. And here's the thing: how was your adrenaline when you're standing there wondering if he was going to come back in the locker room? And who knows what he could have done? Knife, gun. Were you just maxed out on adrenaline? I couldn't imagine being in that type of situation.
I was so hyped up and ready to go.
Yeah.
Next shower, and I was just like a bull. And all Savio and Miguel were going, "Oh my God, Vito, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And these guys were my friends. So me and Savio go way back. If anybody didn't know, me and Savio Vega were tag team partners in 1992 when I first went to Puerto Rico. I go back to All-Star Wrestling with Savio Vega. You know, I'm not gonna bury Savio Vega like the Bruiser Brody thing. Savio Vega knows what happened. Savio Vega knows everything that went on. You know, that's for Savio to talk about. It's not for me to say anything about him, because I respect Savio Vega. He's my friend. He's my compy. He's my companion. He's like a brother to me. But I would never say X, Y, Z against him. But
Savio Vega's kind of underrated. When he was back in the WWF, he had that program with Austin before Austin and Stone Cold gimmick got really big. And I think that might have been a good stepping stone for Steve Austin. Nobody gives Savio credit back then. I mean, some people do. I don't know if you remember that much, but
I do. And Savio was a great wrestler. And he's trying to do the IWA again, you know, and we talked about me going back there to wrestle. You know, I told him, I said, Savio, I'd like to come back and wrestle. He goes, you would? I said, yeah. I said, if we could do the right business, if we could do the right angle, I said, I'll come back and I'll wrestle. I said, it's not a problem. But when you talk about this Bruiser Brody stuff and you talk about Jose Gonzalez and like how tough he was and what, I wrestled Jose Gonzalez so many times he thought he was a shooter until I shot back on him. He got mad. True story, because I'm one of Johnny Rod's boys. He knew he used to stand there like he was a shooter, like I didn't know what I was doing. I shot back on him. I hooked him, covered him, and he got fucking pissed off. Oh, this guy, look, you see what he did to me? I said, you want to act like a shooter? I said, I could shoot. I said, I'm probably one of the best shooters in the game. I just never advertised it, and everybody didn't know I knew how to wrestle. I could wrestle.
yeah,
I could wrestle the best of them.
He definitely sounds like a true scumbag. And unfortunately, Vito, you know, in the business, there are people like that.
You know, and it's sad, and I say this for all the Puerto Rican wrestlers, the guys in Capital Sports, for all the guys out there. It's sad for those guys who put the time in to make that territory great, because if that never happened, that territory would still be the best place in the world to work. 5 days a week, go out there, you wrestle, you live on the beach, you're running on the beach, you're in the gym. There's no better life than wrestling in Puerto Rico, right? But you talk about hard times, and when that happened, that was a black cloud over that industry. And for some reason, nobody ever shunned him or got rid of him because they felt obligated, or he was somebody's cousin or somebody's relative who had to stay in. Sometimes, guys, you know, when you got something good like that, maybe it's not good to hold on to negative people and negative things. Puts a black cloud over your whole life. The guys in Puerto Rico are all hard workers. They know who they are. I salute you for putting up with that bullshit, and I salute you guys tremendously and respect you guys, because you know what? That's probably one of the greatest territories to ever work. It was the greatest education in wrestling I ever got. And I'll say this for Jose Gonzalez, okay? When it comes to old school stuff, okay, and psychology in some things, his way of thinking was great. Yes, he did have a good mind at some things. His finishes weren't that great, but his old school mentality, no pictures in the dressing room, kayfabe, you do this, heels on one side, babyface on the other side. So this way people don't think I'm shitting on him and, you know, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you're giving an honest opinion right here. Biased or unbiased.
I always said Invader's ways of doing things in some ways were great, and I respected them because that's where I wanted things to be. Other things you can't change history, can't change the way things are. But know this, people, you don't have to take people's bullshit. And as soon as somebody puts their hands on you, they're fair game.
Let me ask you this: if there was no knife involved, you think Brody would have killed Invader?
Wiped
Barehanded?
wiped the street with him.
Yeah.
Why would you go? Why would you, if you're gonna go confront somebody, guys? This is logic, street logic, 101. You're gonna throw hands with somebody. You go in the middle of the street. You call them out. You throw hands. Best man wins. You shake hands. It's over. You want to fuck somebody up and you want to do that, you do it with your hands. You don't go somewhere to prove you're tough by stabbing somebody. What did you gain? A reputation of deceit, reputation of, okay, we got to be feared of you. What happens if one of them guys would have went to his house and blew his fucking head off?
Yep.
Right?
It's tragic, dude. I mean, it really is. And I think Dutch Mantell said it best when Bruiser Brody went to the ring and the fans in the first so many rows were afraid of him. That was an art.
Yep, it was.
That was an art. I mean, it's.
What? You want to know something, guys? You ever seen The Godfather?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I have all of them.
And Vito Andolini, okay? He had to leave. He had to leave Corleone because the Don had his father killed. When he went back to see that gentleman, he became the Don of New York. And when he came back, he said, "This is Vito Andolini." So when he asked the Godfather who killed his father, he said, "This is Vito Corleone." "Oh, you took the name of the town." He said, "Do you know Vito Andolini?" And he said, "This is for him." And he stabbed him. Bruiser Brody has a son, and he doesn't look like the type of kid to do that, or the type of man, the mother and the son, to do ever take revenge like that. But
yeah,
when you look at things and the concept of things, guys, would you blame him?
Oh, like I said, that was a riveting documentary, man. I know there's other ones out there about the same, but yeah, thanks for sharing that one with me, Vito. I love, you know, I knew about all that stuff that happened, but like when you see something like that put out there, it gets you really thinking, you know what I mean? And understand it more. It's a business, but man, it was cutthroat business. I mean, that's crazy.
You got a question?
Stats wants to know, why would they allow knives in the locker room? I don't think they knew he had it, right?
Guys, in Puerto Rico, there's no police, there's no security, there's no nothing. You police yourself. They carrying a gun is second nature to these guys. This is how you live out there. They have the National Guard all stationed all over the hoods. So you think it's a rough town? It's a rough town. It's a rough place to live. All right, Virtue, give me your plugs. Let's hear what
you can follow me on Twitter, everybody, at @NoDQ_Virtue. And you can also check me out on NoDQ.com/Virtue with a lowercase v.
All right. Noel, can you give us the plugs for our brand, please?
Yes, I can, Big Vito. You can listen to us on anchor.fm/the Big Vito brand. Click the support button if you want to help us out. If you're making stupid faces while I'm doing this, I'm going to Disney World. I'm not giving you plugs. Sure. Anyway, twitch.tv/the Big Vito brand is where we stream live, baby, live. If you are on that right now, you can. I stole your gimmick, huh? That was gimmick infringement. If you look down in this area down here, you can find the button to click and subscribe if you're on Amazon Prime. It's for free. Our social media is under the Big Vito brand. Our website is thebigvitobrand.com, bigvito.com, harlowinc.com. Slid my own in there, by the way. And you can see the full live broadcast. It's going to be a brawl. I see it coming. You can see the full live broadcast of Getting Color, the video, and you'll be able to see Virtue Beardless right here on Twitch every Monday.
All right, guys. Listen, and just another thing, guys. I know we've been twitching. We've been 2 weeks. Our house is still not finised. I'm sorry because we've been trying to get
We got couches.
We do have couches.
But only half of the couches.
Half of the couches. The bar is still not done. Bitch for tits.
Virtue, bitch for tits.
That's because your place isn't finished yet.
It isn't finished
We
yet.
don't have our studio yet. Our storage is still filled.
Guys,
I'm
one person. I can only do so much. It's not to say my wife is not trying to help as best she can, but it's just a lot on me and to being one guy. Today,
I'm better with arm motion.
today we were supposed to build a bar, but one of my friends had to go to the hospital for his mom. We were at a wedding yesterday. Thank you for the bits.
Thank you for the bits, Eric Kent.
We were at a wedding yesterday for Chrissy Rivera Garibaldi, who got married to a.
You just gave out her legit name again.
Yeah.
You do it every time you talk about her.
Oh, you can edit that.
You gave out
Anyway.
the shoot name again.
It was a Disney wedding. We had a fabulous time. We were there at 9:30. This thing didn't end until 4 o'clock. They got their money's worth at this place. What a great time. What a great place.
Best wedding ever.
It was a great wedding. I actually got to meet Mickey and Minnie Mouse for the very first time in my whole life. I got to take a picture with them. I know it's not nothing for anybody else, but you know, I've come a long way, and I told my brother, I sent him a couple pictures. I said, I've lived my life backwards. I should have been doing this as a kid.
Did you have your NXT title belt with you when you did those pictures?
I forgot it in the car. I'm sorry.
Now maybe we need to take the WCW hardcore belt to Epcot.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
We have one around here.
We do
somewhere.
have it. It's in storage. All right, guys, that's it for Getting Color. I hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. You got anything you'd like to write, you know, hit us up on bigvito.com or the bigbitobrand.com. Send us an email, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see, what you don't want to see.
I'm going to flex while you're talking.
And that's fine. I don't mind. Virtue, thank you very much for giving us your update. And you look good without the beard. You know, don't let nobody joust you, you know, make fun of you. You know what I'm saying? You can always go in a shower with a plastic fork and hurt somebody, scratch them a little bit.
Oh, man.
Don't
Bits for tits again.
Bits
All
for
right,
tits.
thank you very much.
No, God.
All right, we're going to end this broadcast of Getting Color.
Wait,
All right.
notice Noel what? Notice Noel didn't wear ears. Not to the wedding.
Thank God.
Not
All
to
right.
the wedding. I could have. A lot of people did.
Can we end? No, can we end this?
Oh, yeah, you may end it. Sorry, I
All
was
right.
answering questions.
Thank you, guys. Everybody be cool. Peace out. Big Vito Brand signing off.